The 2025 Italian Grand Prix. Ferrari's home race, they are massively aura farming off track. Finally, they've made a livery that looks good. Surely it's going to be a 1 and 2, right? It was an FP1. Everybody was on a high. They were looking good in the other practice sessions as well. So surely a Ferrari is going to be on pole. Well, I mean, that's not a big deal. Leclerc started from P4 last year, ended up winning the race. So surely a Ferrari is going to be on the podium. Well, what is Max Verstappen? How does he end up doing these things? Actually, it's a very simple and easy three-step process so that other teams can copy this as well. Number one is your team gets you a couple of new parts for upgrades. Number two, you decide to go with a really risky setup that the team is not sure about. You choose a very skinny rear wing to give you more straight line speed. It's Monza. It makes sense. Absolutely logical. Number three, drive the absolute shit out of it. That's basically what Verstappen did. He went with a risky setup, very thin rear wing, so it gives you a lot of straight line speed, but at the same time it could make the car a bit unstable in the corners. It can be harder on the tires too, but he went for that risk. It paid off really well. He created new records, broke the fastest time on this lap. That's the fastest time ever for a lap in F1, and this was the quickest an F1 race has gotten over. The record was held by Schumacher at Monza a couple of years back. Don't know what happens to Max really in Italy. We saw that in Imola first and now in Monza. Maybe he's truly a Ferrari fan. He loves the Tifosi and recently spoke about coming to Ferrari as well. So who knows what could happen. The start was a bit rocky for him because he had that thing with Norris where he had to give the position back. And at that point I was like, I mean, Norris has this in the back. McLaren has the fastest car throughout the season. There's no way at this point Max can catch him. But he does. Takes the lead back with a crazy move on the outside and then just disappears. Fastest laps after fastest laps after fastest laps. And eventually when GP tells him to bring it home safely, he's like, yes, full push. A lot was going on in the initial couple of laps and I was like, we are going in for a banger race because this Norris Verstappen thing is happening. Behind them, Piastri and Leclerc are fighting lap after lap, overtaking each other. A couple of risky moves here and there from Charles lately. Since the last 2-3 races, you are seeing a bit of desperate moves from him. But honestly, that car is nowhere. You've got to do the best that you can do with what you have. And behind Lewis Hamilton, who started P10 because of the grid penalty, was making up places as well. But then after those couple of initial laps, it kind of froze. Everyone was just following everyone. Nobody was overtaking. And Alonso was hoping that this thing would continue because he was running well into the points. But then the most Alonso thing happened to him and he was out of the race. Literally nothing is happening. Everybody is driving properly. His suspension just breaks out of nowhere. I mean, what is that Aston really made of? But that's basically how you can sum up majority of Alonso's F1 journey. It's just bad luck after bad luck after bad luck. If I was Alonso, honestly, I would just sit out, give the reserve driver a chance for the next 8 races and be like, I'm going to come back in 2026 with Honda and Aston Martin and then we'll figure out what happens. Meanwhile, there were some other incidences as well. You saw Sainz once again. Oh my god, that guy has had such a poor luck. He had this thing with Lawson last race and now with Bearman. This time, though, Bearman ended up getting a penalty, so that's good. They did do a right to review for Sainz's penalty last weekend, but nothing came out of it really. And as per the racing rules, technically the penalty would have gone to Sainz because by using that same logic, this time Sainz was ahead and Bearman was behind, so it was Sainz's corner. So that's why Bearman ended up getting the penalty. But the point is, his races get ruined and he literally, this season has been one of his worst throughout his career. There was a random incident between Yuki Tsunoda and Lawson as well. Lawson just decides to fight with that second Red Bull driver so aggressively. I don't know, man, you got that seat at one point, nothing really came out of it. Just chill out. And at the front, not much is really happening. You have the same Verstappen, Norris, Piastri, Leclerc, Russell, Hamilton. Everybody's settled in their own places. Ferrari's done with their pit stops. Max is done with their pit stop. McLaren are not pitting. They eventually decide to go from the mediums to the soft tires, but they left it very, very late. I mean, I thought their logic was that let's go to soft tires and then we'll chase Verstappen because that is the only place we can get him. But then they pitted with like 7 or 8 laps remaining and that's too less of a time to make up that gap. But they still went for it and here's where the drama starts. Leclerc has pitted a while back and now that McLaren is pitting so late, there was a little bit of a risk that Piastri could end up behind Leclerc. I don't believe that, but McLaren thought so. So they asked Norris that is it okay if we pit Oscar before you and then we'll pit you in case Oscar ends up ahead of you. If there is an undercut, we will make sure that the positions are swapped. So Norris is like, okay, if you're assuring me that, then you can pit Oscar. Let's take care of his race. And that's what they did. And then they pitted Norris. Norris ideally should have come out ahead of Piastri, but considering how his luck is going, engine failure last race weekend, a 5 second plus pit stop here, so eventually Piastri ended up being ahead of him, and McLaren out of nowhere have now put themselves in a position where they are like, Oscar, you will have to let Lando by. And Oscar is like, whoa, where's that coming from? Because we've discussed that slow pit stops are not a part of this, but McLaren is like, no, abhi now Zuban de di hai to karna padega. Reluctantly, but a mature response from Oscar, he ends up swapping the positions, and that's how the McLaren drivers finish. I seriously want to ask McLaren, what the hell, guys? Why do you put your drivers in a position where it's awkward for both of them? Because both of them were fine. They should have just pitted Norris, then pitted Piastri. I don't think Leclerc was a threat. And even if you thought Leclerc was a threat, he pitted so many laps ago. You had so much time to cover him off with Piastri. But no, you have to do it at the last minute. And they've made this world championship fight such a nice guy thing. We are sacrificing and understanding each other while working hard for the championship. They are trying to make it sound wholesome, but championships are toxic. I mean, you guys haven't seen 2021. I mean, race weekend in and out, there was so much tension, so much drama. People were making stories out of nowhere. Everything was highly intense. Even when 2016 Rosberg and Hamilton intra-team battle like McLaren guys have right now, it was so much more toxic. I mean, this is nowhere compared to that. Norris in the first place shouldn't have agreed for this. He should have gone and pitted first because he was ahead. The lead car gets the priority. That is the basic rule in F1 that teams follow. He should have just gone in. He would have told him that that's not my problem. You have to pit him one lap later because I'm ahead. I get the priority. And that would have ended things. But he decided to play the team game. He decided to think about his championship rivals race as well. And that ended them both in a very difficult place. Once again, I'm not blaming this on Norris or Piastri, but you need that a little bit of a strong attitude to win a championship. Both of them ended up being really nice. That's why McLaren puts them in such situation. But hey, hopefully they learn. And the funniest part of this whole thing was that while these things are going around, Max is gossiping with GP that, oh my god, what really happened? They swapped the cars, and Max is like, just because Lando had a slow pit stop, and then GP is explaining it to him that they're trying to do a fair thing between both drivers, but you make sure that you bring the car safe, you focus on driving. So they're literally gossiping while this whole thing is going on in the background. Absolute cinema. And I'm pretty sure that in his head, Max was probably thinking, if I was Norris or Piastri, I'm not agreeing to this in the first place. I would love to know what you guys think about this in the comments. So that's basically how the race ended. Two notable mentions for guys in the points. Number one, Alex Albon, P14 to P7, and Isaac Hadjar also ended up being P10. He had a very bad quali. First Q1 exit, which speaks volumes about his career as a rookie this season. But yeah, both of these guys went with an alternate strategy. Everyone was going from medium to hard. These guys were like, no, we're going to do hard to medium. And that strategy really paid off. And Williams at the end with Sainz also, they were like, we probably should have gone with this. So Albon, really underrated guy this season. Kimi Antonelli kind of is having not a very great run. I mean, at least this is better than his last home race because at least he finished the race in points, but he still got a 5-second penalty for erratic driving. He had a couple of moments in the free practice, and so far the hype that was there for Kimi, he's not been able to deliver it. Just too much pressure being in the top team. You see guys like Bortoleto, Hadjar, these guys are not in top teams. There's not a lot of pressure and they're delivering. As for Ferrari, I feel like the drivers got the most that they could out of the car. It's just not a great car this year, and things are not really going to change because Monza was one place where they were planning to do something with the rear wing and to make sure that they at least try for a win or land up on the podium. But right now, everything is looking really tough. At least it was better than last week. And I have to mention Lewis because I think he's making that step up slowly. He's gelling with the car and with the team. Last race, he was talking about how they've changed their approach towards the race weekend, and he performed much better throughout the practice sessions. And then in the quali, the gap to Leclerc that he's having is reducing bit by bit, especially over one lap, and that is really good. It was good in Monza as well. It translated into a good race result here. So I'm just excited to see how much Lewis can close that. So when they start with 2026, they are on even terms. But right now, Lewis is holding the record for most races with Ferrari without a podium, and he's not very optimistic about getting a podium this season as well. He's had a podium every season of his F1 career. So let's see how this one pans out. And I also feel a lot of you guys would have this question as to why was McLaren not as dominant on this track as compared to all of the other circuits. Well, the thing is, Monza doesn't really have a lot of high speed corners. It's high speed, then a couple of slow speed turns, medium speed turns. The McLaren package, the advantage majorly comes in a lot of complex circuits where there's a mix of low speed, high speed. The tire wear plays a bigger role in that case. Monza, it's more about top speed and the straight line speed, and Max with that skinny rear wing was able to get an advantage over them. So this is probably a one-off for Red Bull and Max. The next race is Baku. They also have very long straights there as well. So hopefully Red Bull can replicate this once again. But there are a lot of complex, twisty parts of that track as well. So let's see what they can do. Otherwise, this race was pretty disappointing for Stroll. The Haas drivers, they ended up getting penalties. And Yuki as well, because they quit him quite early from the medium tires to the hard tires, and then his pace was just nowhere, and that incident with Lawson completely ruined his race. As for the championship battle, this is where things stand right now. Norris was able to chip off a bit. I mean, by 3 points, he was able to cut down the lead. It's still a long way to go for him. It's going to be one of the highest margins to turn the championship over if he can do that. Man, he's going to need such crazy performances. P1, 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 constantly win all the sprint races, get pole positions, win all the races. Only then he's going to be back in the fight up until Abu Dhabi. Honestly, I'm very neutral to this McLaren championship battle. It doesn't really matter to me either Oscar wins or Lando. I just want the championship battle to go up until the end, up until the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. So we have something to look forward to. I want to go to the last race of the season not knowing who the champion is going to be. Because apart from that, the Constructors' Championship, there's a lot going on from P5 to P10. But otherwise, I only see Ferrari and Mercedes fighting for it. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on right now. I hope we get a banger championship battle up until the end. But otherwise, the last couple of races are going to end up being boring. What are your thoughts about the Italian Grand Prix? Let me know in the comments. I'm trying to bring back the race reviews. You guys just need to support it, man. Come on, watch the video, share it with your friends, make sure that you subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll catch up with you guys after the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Thanks for watching.